I don't think anyone missed us, but we are back anyway. Um, Here we are, college football win totals draft 2024 regular season. It's becoming an annual tradition, and it's funny because I get like texts about this from friends and family, like, "Hey, who you picking this year?"
Are you
And I didn't.
again?
What?
Are you going to lose again?
Probably. The history. My track record's not good. But here we're gonna do it again. Random number generator. This first one is unofficial. Like I just had to check and make sure it worked. But here we are. One being Corey, two being myself, Mark being three, Brian being four. We'll sort out the order. Ready, set, generate.
It's
Oh,
always three.
Mark gets the. And it's funny because I did one earlier. I created one in the Excel before I realized, like, oh, we'll just use Google, and you landed up there too. So Mark is uh, our first pick, and then we'll go ahead and generate again. Brian goes second. What is the deal? I feel like this has always been kind of that draft order.
Yeah,
So
and then
Brian goes
third, I
second.
end up fourth.
Generate three again. Generate one, Corey.
I go three. Steve goes four.
Okay. And we will.
Yeah, you got to probably write it all the way backwards, and then you can copy and paste it.
Yeah, there's probably a faster way to do that, but my spreadsheet skills are probably not as good as y'all's. And that's fine.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you got back-to-back mark.
Oh, I could drag it down.
You're good. Perfect.
I could drag it down now.
Yeah.
But even then. Okay, cool. That looks right to everyone, right? We can confirm.
Looks right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What is the the NFL draft? Mark, you are on the clock.
Hey, I'm not going to make you wait the full 15 minutes. There's one coach at the top of the list that I trust the most. That's Mr. Kirby Smart. Brought me in 12 wins last year in the regular season, and I'm expecting another 12.
This is the
Georgia
like the lowest ROI on them, because if you fail on them, you get like two losses. You picked one of the better teams and you get two losses.
So. I know it's the pressure picks.
Did you hear him complaining about depth earlier this week? He's like, that's a problem with college football. Is we are not nearly as deep as we used to be. You still got all the number one players at the first line, but everybody else, when you're a second tier player, go play for somebody else because you can play.
I'm not mad about it. Yeah.
It makes good football.
Deal with it, Kirby. All right, Brian, you are on the clock unless you had more comments on Georgia.
Nah, I think there's enough said there.
I'm picking between two teams that will face off this year, and I'm going to go with Oregon. I think outside of Ohio State, they have a weaker schedule than Ohio State does. They have a better chance. I think Ohio State's a slightly better team. If I'm going to pick who's going to win that game right now, I'd say Ohio State. But who am I more confident is going to win the other 11 games is going to be Oregon, so I'm going to take Oregon at number 2.
I think that was a good pick. As I'm number 3, I was going to pick between those two teams, and you made my choice easy. I'm going with Ohio State.
The Buckeyes are off the board now. Double picks. Who do I go with here? Yeah, it feels like a lot of pressure to not mess this up, and I feel like it's funny. Like I feel like confident going into these things, and then the second I'm put on the clock, it's like, oh no, I just can't do this. I am going to select with the 4th overall pick. The U, give me Miami. I will probably regret that, which means in real life I'll be happy. So yeah. It's a little bit of an emotional hedge there. For my next pick, give me. This is tough. Give me the Utah Utes. I'm going to go with the U and then the U. Had to swipe them before Mark could get them, and I don't think they'd be around for then. So I will take them.
Right now, Utah Utes schedule. Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, and they better. The way their fans are popping off on like social media, they think they are going to absolutely rule the roost in the new Big 12, and they might. They might not, but they again pretty favorable schedule. Most of the tough games are at home. You have a 1,000-year-old quarterback and a 1,000-year-old tight end, and the lines of scrimmage should be good. So mine is big on the like. I'm riding the hype trains on two different teams that one hasn't been there in forever, and the other one's got to do what they do, which is compete within their conference, but also with a pretty soft out of conference schedule. Utah is my pick.
Dude, Miami, like with the talent they have, they should be good. Like your bottom, if the bottom doesn't fall on Miami, the worst you're going to get out of them is 9 wins. Right? That's the worst.
That's kind of my thought. I mean, I know Cristobal might blow one or two himself, but it's going to get to the point where like the roster is so idiot proof, like it'll be,
All right, I'm next. I'm taking Brian's Darlings, Liberty.
That was the other one I was waffling between. Just I was like, do I take them or Utah with that second pick? Good choice.
Was that your next pick, Brian?
It certainly was, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to dwell any further on there, but I got the next pick, and there's one key difference between the two I'm going to take in Liberty, and that's I think Liberty can go 12-0. I don't think this other team can. So if we're good, moving on to me on the clock.
Yep.
Go ahead. Penn State with my pick. A team that really, as far as Big 12 or Big 10 schedules go, decently light. They do have the Ohio State one, and for me, that's a certified loss. I don't give them almost any chance to win that. I just don't believe in the coach. I don't believe the players are at that quality either. Other than that, though, you only play USC and should be able to win the rest of your games. So I'm going with Penn State for that next round.
Fighting James Franklin's are off the board. Mark, double picks.
Yep, double picks. Trying not to draft too many teams that play each other last year because I think virtually I think I had like 12 inter-game matchups last year because I picked like 5 teams out of the Big 12. So I'm one of these 2 picks is going to go to Florida State. So just put them on the board right now. Here's my problem. Really trust the coach. Really, really, really don't trust the quarterback play. And that's the dilemma with Florida State. There's a world where I think we win 8 games because I just think the quarterback play is going to be in trouble. But, we'll just trust that we'll get it done and put them on the board. Corey, I saw you you had some thoughts on
Yeah. So if you're going ACC play, like Florida State seems to be the favorite to like win the championship or go to the championship. Like I could very easily see them not making the ACC title game easy. Like I'm worried about. I think Clemson and Miami have a much easier schedule and are better teams, to be frank. So, yeah.
Yeah, certainly easier within the ACC. Clemson, you have Georgia in the out of conference. But as far as winning the ACC itself, I think you're totally right.
Yeah, but even still, Clemson plays Georgia, and then who else do they play? Like, NC State's the next hardest team that they play besides Florida State. Like, they don't play anybody.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I have full confidence that DJU can play us out of a couple football games, and the rest of the 21 people pull it together.
Norvell won't let him. He'll be like, hand the damn ball off again. Okay, we got 4 running backs that can run the ball out there. Unlike Texas, they only have 1 left. Hand the damn ball off. Have you guys heard about that with Texas?
Yeah.
They've lost 2 running backs to season-ending injuries in the last week.
Seems like Corey's trying to talk him down. He's slinging mud dirt.
Like, interesting.
This is like those press releases right at the beginning of a draft that it's like, what was the guy's name? Oh, the tackle, Laramie Tunsil. This is the gas mask. Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm trying to talk him down. I'm just saying that's.
I'm just teasing.
Going from terrible quarterback play to elite quarterback play, I think I'll take Texas off the board next. Again, not a pick I feel awesome about. I don't know. I don't like Steve Sarkisian at all. I don't trust his game, his in-game calling. And I don't know how the slide over to the SEC and playing consistently tougher teams each week will play out, but quarterback play will get you a lot, and they've got, Quinn Ewers is elite, and even the backup looks like, could be a good option when Quinn Ewers takes his 3 or 4 game break this year with whatever injury he decides to come up with. So we'll flip it over to Brian.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I'm going to stay away from as many tricky games as I can within the SEC. You've got a lot of teams that can do a lot of damage there. But one of the lighter schedules and a team that's gone all in on the year is Ole Miss. So give me the Rebels for my next pick. I don't see them beating Georgia. I do think they have a chance to beat LSU. And then they have a lot of teams that they get to beat up on the lower end of the conference. I think they've got a chance to go over their 9.5 projected and to make it to the college football playoff this year. I don't think they're going to perform great there. It's hard for me to imagine so much coming together so quickly, so well. But the schedule starts off light enough that they've got a chance to make that happen, to win through some of the growing pains and then get good enough to make it all happen. So Rebels.
Darts only, am I right?
Okay.
Darts.
Did you watch the full video from the side?
No,
Underneath that Twitter shot that they sent, where it looks like he's throwing it off into nowhere land, there's actually a receiver hiding behind the lineman that is running the same route, and he actually it's an actual catch. They show a side view of this shot underneath, and so you can actually see it's actually not edited. It's edited terribly, but it's not an edited thing. It was like a drop, he put it on perfectly. But
send me the link there. I hadn't noticed that. I just man, that thing flies off. There's a bunch of people standing on the side, and I'm worried it hits them.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. What the heck? Because I saw some BYU fan making fun of it, and then I went to the original tweet, and then underneath it, someone shows the sideline shot, and you see, that's the receiver that you can see in view. He makes a cross, and then there's another receiver that comes in to make the catch.
Interesting.
Speaking of
all right,
only, I am going to go with I think there's a couple coaches that are just kind of boneheaded that are going to that have made some stupid moves. Dabo Swinney is one of those boneheaded coaches that won't go get transfers. That being said, his team is still better than the majority of who he plays. They play nobody. I'm taking Clemson.
All righty, Clemson. I'm actually really surprised some teams are still on the board here for me to pick from. I thought that this might be a little bit easier. Let's see here. I think it's a little too tempting to take what has been the the benchmark of the sport with one of the up-and-comers as a coach to not take Alabama, I think would be a mistake at this point. I did kind of have them slotted sort of right in this range, where it's this is a boomer bust pick. But man, if I don't trust DeBoer, I was all in on him at Washington. He's got better ingredients to work with now. Maybe has to pivot a little bit because I don't think Jalen Milroe could throw the football really. But I even put DeBoer actually. Give me Alabama as I was typing. So I'll take the Crimson Tide with that pick.
I'd say give me Bama next year because he tends to lose 1 or 2 games when he moves to a place, maybe sometimes 3. I think Washington in his first year he lost 3, but after that after his first season in a place, I think he's lost a grand total of 1 game in the regular season.
Yeah, and what I'm banking on is hey, everywhere he's gone to from here was more of a rebuild. This one, granted, they lost some things in the transfer portal. They lost Caleb Downs, they lost 5 players to FSU. They lost some stuff.
Yeah.
But still, that entire roster is better than he's basically had anywhere he's been. And so I just trust it. I know that some of the offensive brain trust with the offensive line coach and the, I guess for a very short period, I guess he was the offensive line coach and then the offensive coordinator, now going back to Seattle to be on the Seahawks, to be part of that organization. I just trust too much of what he's doing.
But tell me right now, you don't take Washington's offense last year over Alabama this year, even talent wise. I mean, you got a better quarterback, better wide receiver. You have probably a worse running back and worse line at Washington, and then here at Alabama, you have a better line, probably a worse quarterback, a better running back, and probably worse receivers, probably better depth, but not top end.
And I don't even know if I'd go better running back because, oh gosh, his name's now escaping me. Oh goodness, who was their starting running back last year? He transferred from Mississippi State, and Mike Leach. He called out Mike Leach when he left. He's like, "Since I am not tough, I will be entering the transfer portal," and then has an excellent season with Washington. It was perfect.
Rest in peace, Mike.
Yeah, his name is escaping me, but he was quite the running back. I can't believe I can't remember his name right now. I'm a little embarrassed by that. But so I don't know if I'd even give him the running back position. I just think
Dylan Johnson?
On the whole. Sorry?
Are you thinking Dylan Johnson?
Yep. That's the one. That's just me kind of banking on DeBoer working his magic and assuming that it doesn't take as long to get rolling, given that he's got a lot better ingredients to cook with. For my second pick, I am torn. I'm going to choose a team where this is one where I'm introducing a little bit of a challenge on my team because they play each other. Give me the Vols. Give me Tennessee.
Ooh, you high on the Vols, boy. I like it.
Yeah, I think they're 10 wins at worst.
Rocky Top.
Is Nico starting for them this year?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan. I think they play some interesting people, though. I mean, who do you play this year? Do you play NC?
They play NC State to open the year, which is a little bit of a nervous one. They play Georgia, and they play Bama. So those are the three that are I think really losable. I don't have their schedule right in front of me, but I trust that coaching staff too. I kind of when the talent is equal, that's where I look at coaches, right? And for the most part, outside of one or two, I think the talent will be pretty close to equal.
All right. This is a team I do not like to rely on. I do not think that overall they live up to their standards. But I think they got to a 10-win season last year. And they've got a new OC from LSU. Give me Notre Dame. Bringing Riley Leonard in.
As soon as you said you didn't like to rely on them, Brian and I are looking and pointing out on the screen like, guys, go Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, you got 9 of your 11 defenders coming back, and you were top 10, top 15 scoring defense. So it can only get better from there. And then you bring in an offensive mind that can actually utilize people. I think that's a good hit. We'll see. They have a harder schedule, right? A little bit, but everybody's picking them to get to the playoffs. So
it's funny because they have a harder schedule, but not a no certified losses schedule.
Exactly.
They don't play Ohio State. They don't play Georgia or even in Alabama. It's harder, but it's only because you play Texas A&M and Florida and Louisville and USC. You have this, a bunch of games that you can lose, but you should be favored in probably all of those.
Especially the SC game.
Yeah.
See, that's my problem, though. The key to this game, these picks, are not to pick someone that drops super significantly lower than your area, as Steve and Mark found out last year.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, I am now on the clock and kind of have been going chips in, I guess, with the first 3 picks on just picking weak schedules and hoping that you can't let the bottom fall out. I'm going to do it again. Go back to the SEC. I'm going to take Missouri. I think a lot of the rankings that Missouri have preseason are more projection than they are a reality of where they would be in a power rating. But you look at them, you look at the schedule, and you go, well, they don't have Georgia. You get Alabama in the rebuild year, college football playoff. Yeah, they lose some talent, but Kalen DeBoer is also awesome. But then Texas A&M is your next hardest game. Missouri, it's hard to do what they did twice. Last year, people who are really paying attention knew it was coming, but now they've got a target on their back from every team that they're going to play. So it'll be a bigger task in that regard, but I've still got them having a big year.
Speaking of bad schedules, give me the Boise State Broncos. That's a cupcake schedule outside of Oregon, so it's a guaranteed loss.
It's a good pick. It's a really good pick.
A lot of bad football teams, and so
They've got an NFL running back.
And Malachi Nelson starting at quarterback.
Yeah, we'll see. I think that shoulder is going to be a problem.
We'll see.
I think it's a high floor pick. Good chance to go 10 wins there.
Definitely.
Kind of conflicted on what to do. Now you start to get to the, I don't feel good about any of these teams, but I do have to draft one.
Yeah.
I'll go back to the SEC, but not a team that plays anybody else I've drafted so far. Give me LSU. Like the
believing on the fighting Brian Kellys.
That's right. Moving Harold Perkins back to the inside, maybe revitalize his college career.
I have not seen a linebacker more mismanaged since
Good heavens.
Since Dunder Mifflin.
Since Dunder Mifflin.
Well, I can't remember what the line. It's just like the last time I saw a company as mismanaged as Dunder Mifflin, it's when they're being bought out by Sabre. But
we were having a conversation at work last week. A new FSU guy moved to my office, and you said, I haven't seen a linebacker mismanaged. And immediately my mind went to, easy, Marcus Sims, when we let him play running back instead of linebacker.
James Wilder was also one of those.
I spent the whole afternoon last week mad about the Georgia Tech fumble. A fumble I hadn't thought about in a decade. But somehow it came up with this guy, and then I was just like, oh, great, I'm just angry for the rest of the afternoon. I got to go home now. I can't even work anymore.
Okay, so quick hiatus from the draft while I tell the story of my experience with that fumble. I was a freshman in college. I think, was it the week before that we beat Virginia Tech? I'm going to get that mixed up. But, we were having an okay season, right? I think we finished that year 8-4, 9-4. I think 9-4 with the bowl game.
07, 08?
It's 08 to 09.
Okay, so I'm on my mission because, you guys know I played against Marcus in Pee Wee, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Marcus played for Timberlane. I played for Northside.
Oh, yeah. Also, Team Timberlane and that, for life, those guys are a bunch of killers. And Northside, we just got rocked all the time.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a throwback that 3 people will get, and most of them are on this pod. Anyway, what was I gonna say? I'm watching this. I'm streaming it. This is the ESPN 3 days before everything was super monetized. You could just watch stuff on ESPN 3 online. Not everything, but that's how I was watching this game in my dorm room. And I was just like, oh my gosh, we're gonna win this game. And I really didn't feel like we deserved to win the game. Most of the game, it felt like we were kind of, it was just really back and forth. And then, that happens. I am drinking, I think, a Dr. Pepper, some sort of soda, and I spit take it all over my desk when he fumbles. Not explosive, but just more my jaw drops, but I have a mouthful of soda and it's all over my desk. And no way did that just happen. Also, have you guys noticed we have this history of just awful, heart-wrenching defeats in Atlanta? That one, the kick 6 from 2015? Yeah. 2016. Woof. Oh, get me out of this conference. I don't want to go to Atlanta ever again.
Well, if you go to the SEC,
they'll move that. They'll just wait till Texas starts throwing the weight around. That championship will be in Dallas. I bet you $10,000.
We going into that game, we were 6-1 with a loss to Wake Forest.
Had we beaten Virginia Tech?
Yes, we beat Virginia Tech the week before.
Oh, see, I nailed it.
We lose that game, and including that game, we lose 3 of the last 6 games, including the bowl game. So we lose 3 of the last 5 in the regular season.
Who did we lose in the bowl game?
We won the bowl game against Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I was like, hold on, maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but no, we went. We went to that game.
Yeah. That's the
That's the Graham Cano punt game.
yeah.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh, not a better punting highlight game that I've ever seen.
It's amazing, and I wish that the YouTube video had like more than 10 pixels because it's a fantastic game and you can't even see. You're like, what's going on? I don't know. How often does a punter win a bowl game MVP? Not very often.
Yeah, and then
Anyway,
just stepped up to win the Groza, so it was like, oh, this guy kicks too. He's crazy.
yeah, exactly.
Back to the draft.
Yeah,
Brian's
sorry about
now-
that.
Brian's lost his draft choice because he didn't make his pick in time.
Yep.
Well,
Just like the
Marquise
Vikings.
Gordon, he's got. Boise State would have been my pick if they were on the board. It was a great selection. I'm gonna do another one who I think could be the group of 6. Do we include the Pac-12 in that, or the Pac-2? The non-Power 4 team to make the playoff. I'm gonna take the Memphis Tigers. Lost to Florida State. I anticipate. Other than that, like, I believe in the coaching staff. I believe in the quarterback. A lot that they have going on. So I'll take them and make my first venture out of the Power 4. Last year, I was able to win this overall draft based on taking teams outside of the Power 5 conferences. So hoping not to abandon that entirely.
Almost exclusively last year.
I took six outside of it last year. It was a great strategy.
It looks to me that we've avoided one conference completely. If I'm looking through this, am I wrong?
For good reason.
I'm going to take Kansas State. They don't play a super hard schedule. I'm taking them. I think that their out of conference schedule makes it gives them a good chance to have a high ceiling. I think you worry about I think you play Arizona and Oklahoma State, but other than that, it's like you should be favored in the remainder of your games. And if you're able to chase Will Howard out, you probably got a good quarterback. So.
Yeah, I think Johnson's the real deal at quarterback. I'm terrified because at some point I'll probably have to take a Big 12 team. But the only one I felt good about having a high floor was Utah. It was like, they're the ones who I see like high ceiling, high floor. All these other teams, like, I do see high ceiling there. You could have they could go undefeated this year.
Right.
But that conference is so level, it just makes me nervous.
Yeah, I'm like leaning towards them and Kansas because Kansas got a good OC out of conference schedule. Like those are the 3 teams I was like, okay, if I have to take a Big 12 team, I'm taking one of those 3.
Fair. Yeah, I was kind of thinking they were probably going to be in one of these next 2 selections for me. I was like, oh, I'm going to get both the favorites in the Big 12. Interesting. And it turns out no, but that's okay. I am going to, let's see. Thus far, I've picked ACC, Big 12, SEC, SEC, which is, I don't know. I feel like this, like, tell me if you guys feel otherwise. It becomes more challenging with some of these conferences being bigger because, like, there's sometimes, in some cases, fewer out of conference games, but also it's like, all right, now I need to find, like, where is the conference schedule, like, the one that's, like, most palatable that can give me a nice road or a nice path. And it is not the best schedule that I've seen, but, man, I like the talent. I guarantee you the vibes are better. Give me the Aggies of Texas A&M. Because if my man Mike Elko can win and win pretty big at Duke with what he had on that team, which, again, there was some talent on that team. But, boy, I think he can cook it up. And I think I'm big on them, so give me the Aggies. Again, most of my... that's kind of a last-minute audible there. I kind of was thinking of maybe doing something a little bit different. But I'm also going to stay in the state of Texas. And does anyone know who #TakeBackTexas is about?
Are you taking Texas State?
My man, G.J. Kinney and the Texas State Bobcats are going to go ham this year. And I got them. They fell to me, and I'm pumped about it.
I was taking them next pick.
Oh, good. So, yes, give me the Texas State Bobcats. And just banking on a up-and-coming coach with better quarterback play than last year. But some experience in the system. I'm big on the Bobcats. I think that they're going to run. Gosh, what I don't even have their conference in front of me right now. Are they in the Sun Belt? Are they in Conference USA?
Obviously, a big Texas State Bobcat guy.
They're in the Sun Belt. Yeah, I hesitate. I feel like there's a power vacuum that's also there in that conference where Coastal's not what they used to be, right? Grayson McCall's no longer there.
Right.
Tim Beck already had started to water down what he is. You have James Madison. Much of that goes to Indiana with Curt Cignetti. App State, not really what they have been, in the last couple of years, what they were in years past. Georgia Southern and Georgia State both have been poached pretty significantly by the SEC. So I'm banking on them again. Troy, when what's his name left for Tulane? Gosh, I'm blanking on names. Sumrall. I can't remember. John Sumrall, I think.
I'm not gonna know that.
But yeah, there's a power vacuum there. Texas State's ready to roll. Give me the Bobcats.
I'm trying to refigure out because I didn't think that was even on anybody's radar. I was like, all right, this is my next one. Blah blah blah. Like we're good to go.
I was sweating it out because I was like, all right, really, what you're looking for is kind of like who are the top people in certain conferences.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, we haven't touched the Sun Belt yet. No one's doing it. Please, please, please. And I got them. And then I was just like, what do I do with the other pick? Was the real challenge there.
So I'm picking a team that's going to play one of my other teams then, but I think that the rest of the schedule sets up well for them. Again, I'm picking another coach I haven't trusted and hasn't shown well, but give me NC State.
You don't trust Dave Doran? That was the other one I was thinking. Like I was between NC State and A&M.
Anybody who went out and got Brennan Armstrong? No, I don't think so. I still
and won 9 games with him.
Well, 4 of them he was on the bench or /hurt.
Yeah, fair point.
But I'm hoping that's what I can get is another 9 wins out of this team. So
yeah, it boiled down to I was like, I already there's some chances for them to lose, but I also already picked Tennessee, and I feel like some of my cross pollination is going to be a problem.
You just can't cross pollinate too much. As long as you don't marry too many first cousins, you don't get the weird things. Just one.
Oh goodness! Stop! Someone's clipping that.
Aren't you and Megan related? No, I'm just kidding.
We're not related.
All right. I'm on the clock, and I'm going back to a team that did me well last year. I might have taken them the year before. We're going to the MAC, and I think the favorite's in the MAC. We're going to take Toledo. I don't know if my prep work was sufficient or not, but I'm seeing here that I have as their most difficult game Miami of Ohio. Maybe I missed a team when I was going through and briefly putting together my draft board. But if that's the case, I feel good about a team that generally has more talent than the other MAC teams. They generally recruit a little better. And they didn't lose their coach over the offseason, which I thought they might. So I'm taking the Toledo Rockets.
They got to go on the road to Mississippi State, which I understand is maybe not.
Yes. That one will be tougher, though.
It'll be tougher. It's an environment. It's early in the season. I don't think Mississippi State fans will have abandoned hope just yet. But yeah, it's a difficult environment, and it's it's an SEC team. It's a bad one, but it is one, right?
Yeah.
Mark, double picks.
So Brian and I sharing a draft room. I thought I was comfortable sliding into Toledo. Brian's over here on the computer looking at Louisville's schedule. I'm like, oh, great, he's going to go take Louisville. I'm sitting here on my phone looking at Toledo. Like, yeah, I think I'm going with Toledo next. Brian peeks over at my phone. He's like, all right, I see your play. Let's try Toledo. That's a bummer. So I'm going to have to figure out what I'll do with my second pick. My first pick, it wouldn't be a win totals draft if I didn't draft the Fighting Kirk Ferentzes from Iowa. They're my favorite team. Not Florida State, and typically, Utah is one of my favorite other teams. But, I love every week. Let's go hold a team to 10 and see if we can lose a football game. I love them, and so I got to double down on my love for them and root for them every single week by bringing them into the fold. Now that Brian stole Toledo. What do I do with this next pick? Considering Michigan, but they have an absolutely brutal schedule. Texas, Oregon, Ohio State. I, at this point, have lost any faith in USC. I made that joke earlier. So they are on the schedule, but I just consider that a win for any good football team. Oh, man. Let's see. How many ACC teams do I have here? I got just FSU. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think that's right. There's no other team other than Clemson worth drafting. Maybe I'll go. Let's zag. I'll stay in the SEC or the ACC, but give me the SMU Mustangs.
Ooh.
Oh,
We'll see how the ACC breaks those Broncos or not. But fairly soft schedule. They got FSU and Louisville and
you do know they're the Mustangs, right?
yeah, I know. I said that first, but then there's still a. Does anybody know the technical difference between a Mustang and a Bronco? I don't know.
Isn't a Mustang a tamed one?
Is it? Oh, see, they're already broken. That was probably the wrong pick.
Oh, I could be wrong. I thought it was like a question. Someone Google that.
I'm doing it.
All right. Corey, you've got 5 minutes while Brian makes a draft pick.
Mustangs horses are 13 to 15 hands tall. They're compact, stocky, and perfect for rough terrains. Broncos are bigger, 14 to 16 hands tall.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course, measured in hands, of course. What just happened over there?
Brian just was like, oh, a little short.
Mustangs are a feral horse breed, while Bronco is a term for any horse that bucks or kicks its hind legs. There you go.
Got
Those are the
it.
things I think you can find on it.
There you go.
Mustang is a Ford. Bronco is a what's it? I have no. Is a Ford as well? I have no idea.
This is the sort of Googled horse facts you can only get from the CFB Paint podcast.
Exactly.
So keep tuned in.
Yeah,
We'll keep those coming.
and both are Fords.
Oh, there you
By yeah, Ford Mustang, Ford Bronco.
I have no idea. I don't know the Bronco.
I was very concerned that Mark was going to take, when he said he'd stay in the ACC, going to take the team that I'm taking next. I've got two on my board, one at 21 and one at 24. But I'm going with one at 24. I do this all the time. I make my board and then I just jump 5 down from where I think I should be. It's like, this team feels good. I'm going to take Virginia Tech. I'm going to take the Hokies. Kyron Drones is who I'm betting on big time here to have a big season. I believe in the coaching staff, and I think there should be improvement there. They're kind of the sexy dark horse that people are saying, oh, watch out for them in the ACC. They might win it. I don't know if they have quite that, but also I don't have big certified losses. You've got Clemson and Miami both on the schedule. You don't have NC State, Louisville, or Florida State, so you dodge some of the tough teams. You still have a couple you got to handle, but I'm going with the Hokies.
I thought we just clarified that I just drafted the sexy horses.
All right. I think I'm going to go with the Roadrunners here. UTSA.
Ooh.
They're up there with Tulane and Memphis in their conference. I think they've got a good chance to have 8.5, 9 wins. So I'll take it if I can get that there.
Nice. Let's see. Hold on. I gotta update my board on who's already been picked.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It makes it
Second,
difficult
so I
when you're tracking everybody.
sorry.
No.
Sorry, what?
It makes it difficult when you're tracking everybody.
Well, I mean, it's just I'm jumping from one to the other. So sorry, Virginia Tech is off the board. Yeah, I think the rest of these are good. I had Ole Miss way down on my board. So we'll see who's right there. Okay. It's crazy to me that I am going to get the defending national champions more than halfway into the draft. Give me the Wolverines. Harbaugh.
So I was considering them, but I mean, you have just so many chances. You have 4 almost guaranteed losses potentially.
You say 4? I'm not seeing 4.
I mean, 3, okay, expected. But then, like, how do they hold up against USC? And then you have to go out to Washington. Like, just
That's gonna be fine. That team got gutted, man.
I'm just thinking you have to go out there, and East Coast teams
The travel, sure.
and so I'm just like, and then you have just too many places where they can slip up. I mean, at Illinois potentially. I know Michigan State's not that good a team, but they've got a good quarterback, and so I feel like they can win a game there. I don't know. That's like the ceiling didn't seem high enough, and the floor felt too low for me to go there.
See, I feel like they're between like worst case scenario, they're a 7-win team, and best they're probably 10. Like I gotta kind of squint my eyes, and like someone's got to throw like 3 picks in order for that 10 to be possible. But I'm pretty sure I'm getting 8 or 9 wins out of them. Like, and so it's like at this point in the draft, I think that that's pretty good value. Not to mention like they have the pedigree, right? Like so they could reach the high end of that. And so I'm going to go from what I think is pretty like a pretty safe pick to a bit of a risky one. Give me the Bulls of South Florida. I love what they're doing. Second year in the system for the QB and the running back. Alex Golish is an offensive genius. He does play, unfortunately for him, at Alabama, and they host Miami. So that's probably 2 losses. But I can also see a world where he's like, I'm gearing like 3 or 4 weeks worth of prep on one of those 2 opponents and gearing up trying to basically audition for the Florida job. So I think he's good. I think his coaching staff is good. So that one's a high risk, high reward pick. I could see them, outside of those 2 games, there's not a game that they cannot win on that schedule. Outside of those 2, and even those 2, like it would be such a Miami thing to go to Tampa and lose, right? Like, which I think it's a different Miami. They were my first pick, right? Or first pick. But so I don't think it's going to happen, but I like the South Florida Bulls to have a pretty good season. Corey, you're up.
Oh my gosh, you already did your back-to-backs. Oh, I'm not loving this. Oh. This is a team that I think, no. I'm going to go Kansas because I trust that coach. I've picked a bunch of coaches I don't trust. I'm picking a coach I do trust. And I know I've already picked the Big 12 team, but even without his all-star quarterback, he did amazing. I think if you can keep him healthy, it'll be okay. So I'm hoping for 8 wins out of that team. What do you guys think about that?
I like the Kansas pick. They're second highest left on my board at this stage. To me, the gamble is health.
Bingo.
You got your healthy quarterback. That's a prize pick to get this late in the draft, I think. But it's not something we've seen over the last 2 seasons, so it's hard to bet on. But if it's there, quarterback and running back, really good.
Yeah, big boomer bust pick, but like this is a part of the draft where you start doing that. So like I like the pick. They were a little bit lower on my board, but that's the only reason why, right? If Jalen Daniels has been consistently healthy, they're going way higher up in this draft, I think. So I think that's going to be probably a pretty good value pick for you. I feel like he's going to stay healthy this year. Intuition, soft factors.
Put it out in the universe, man.
That's right. I want him to stay healthy. I think they've got a good team, and he's a big part of that. So I think that's a solid pick, Corey.
I picked one very portal heavy team with Ole Miss earlier. I'm going to go with another one here in the ACC. I'm going to take Louisville.
Was this the other ACC team you're?
It was Louisville and Virginia Tech. And I think mostly they have decently favorable schedules. Like Louisville took advantage of a favorable schedule last season and kind of got a year ahead of things. You still have Gelati on the D line. If you can have a healthy Tyler Shuck, that's the big part. It's the Jalen Daniels side. This team could be good and could have one of the better quarterbacks in the conference if he's healthy. And I'm a big Jeff Brom believer. I wasn't the past 2 seasons, and both times have been like, okay, I'm wrong. Like at Purdue, I was wrong. Last year, he did way better than I anticipated, and they played excellent. They won't be surprising Notre Dame this year. I think that's probably the toughest game on the schedule. I think Notre Dame will come very focused and ready to play for that. But other than that, so you got Notre Dame, you've got Miami. I think they should be able to handle most of the rest of their schedule. SMU is going to be no joke; they'll be a tough team to beat. But I like the Cardinals this late in the draft.
Mark, double picks.
Yep. Somebody's got to win some Big 12 football games. Give me Oklahoma State. Again, that's just more of a. I see the floor is fairly high, kind of a stable program, consistent coach. Not
Return. They're starting QB, starting their entire starting offensive line, and Ollie Gordon at running back. So
and
safe.
a team that's hard to put together at the back half of last year, and maybe bring some of that momentum with them. After that, we're hitting the dregs, of the cup here. I got 2 picks left. Don't really trust a lot of these football teams. So I think I will go Fresno State and just kind of diversify away from, other places I've picked.
Solid strategy there. Brian, you are up.
I'm glad I'm up. I don't know if this team will stick around over the next few picks, though who knows. I'm going to take James Madison.
Oh, bloody.
Thank goodness. It's they won't be what they were last year. Last year they were a team that led me to winning, like that. That was one of the big ones that came through where I didn't anticipate them going. Did they go 11-1 or 12-0? I think it's 11-1. Maybe it's 12-0 and lost the conference game or conference title. I can't remember which, but them and Florida State were kind of the ones that led me to winning the overall draft. I'm hoping they can do some damage here in the late rounds. I don't expect the same thing, but anything they can give me that's above 7 wins, I'll be very pleased with.
All right. Well, that was my pick. I was like, no one's gonna take them. See, if you pick anybody from the Big 12, you're guaranteed like 6 wins, but you're also guaranteed like 6 losses. You don't have the upside.
It's tough.
And the question is, do you go for the upside or do you not go for the upside? Has anybody picked App State?
No.
I'll take them. Trying to keep myself diversified.
That's what I'm trying to figure out now too, because at this point I have 1 ACC team, 1 Big 12 team, 3 SEC teams, 1 Sun Belt team, 1 Big 10 team, and 1 team from the American. And I'm trying to think. Who do I want with that? Give me just a second here. I need to look at one thing real fast.
What do you guys think about the App State? Well,
right.
I think you've got only 2 losses on the schedule, which is good at this point in the draft. They're out of conference playing Power 4 teams. For me, it was between them and James Madison. They both play in the same league. They play against each other this year.
Yeah.
That was the decision I was making. I think App State's the better team between the two. James Madison has the lighter schedule, so that's what ultimately did it for me. I like the pick.
See, I'm torn.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Keep talking out this. You guys are doing some good job filling time for me.
App State plays Clemson, and then who else do they have? They have Liberty that they're probably going to lose to.
Yeah, Liberty's the other one I think is the loss, and that could, it's not a foregone conclusion. I just think that's the way it'll go.
Yeah.
All right, that's
I'll
enough.
take a loss either way on that one. But.
Enough stalling. I just hate that these are my last 2 picks, and there's just, and I could see these going so many different ways. And I know it's funny because like usually my board is like picked clean. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams in the 40 that I stack ranked that are still available.
That might be why you lose this tournament every year.
I will say USF was not on my board.
Well, that's fine. I think that one's gonna make me look smart. But no, I was gonna say like the last couple times it's like I usually go deeper. Number one, I usually go well. Yikes. I usually
Crazy.
I usually scout probably 50 to 55. Sometimes I think the first year I went even to 60. I was so afraid like all of them would get gobbled up. And usually the top like just is picked over. And this year is not the case. So I am gonna go. It really comes down to like which darling do I think can do something. I first give me like I'm stunned that Southern Cal's fallen this far. I might live by Lincoln Riley and die by him, but there's just too much on the too much on the roster. I like the defensive brain trust that they now have. You got North Dakota State's head coach as your linebackers coach. Like that's nuts. Guy knows how to win. Not to mention, of course, the former UCLA defensive coordinator Jansen Lin. So I think that they'll get things short up there. I'm asking for 8 wins, right? And I could probably get 9 or 10 if they really surprise. I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I don't love that there's a little bit of like I have Michigan and they play Michigan, and I think I have 1 or 2 others that they also face throughout the year. Maybe not actually, but I'll take the Trojans with that pick. And now it's down to okay, who do I fancy from a couple of these? Maybe we'll break them down afterwards. But I am gonna go with Central Florida. Give me the Golden Knights. I'm right there between them and Arizona. I just think Arizona lost a fair amount to Washington specifically. But if someone like I'm kind of like pick Arizona someone because I think that they've got still some good talent on both sides of the ball. But I'm going UCF, and the Wildcats are gonna do awesome just because I didn't pick them now. So again, will make me emotionally happy. Will make me I'll be worse for it in this draft. But Golden Knights, decent schedule. I know that they play Florida in the Swamp. To me, that one's like UCF might even be favored in that game. They're a good team. I'm looking for again 7 wins from the Knights at that this low in the draft.
Yeah, I was looking at UCF. I think the reason that I didn't pick them is like you have to play Colorado, which is kind of like you don't know what you're going to get with them. You get BYU, and you never know what you're going to get with them. Sometimes like BYU and Arizona, they're just hard teams that can. The nice part is you have all those teams at home, but like those
and
are
it's
teams,
insane travel for most of them.
Yeah,
like.
Well, I mean, BYU's used to it, but Colorado's not, and that's what the worrisome is in the Big 12 is because you become so expanded. It's like, how are these teams going to handle traveling when they?
Yeah, it's a new wrinkle.
So, I was thinking about them, but I'm going to go Auburn. I think you have a clear 6 wins, no problem. And then if you can pull off 1 or 2 if you get 1 or 2 against Missouri or Kentucky, and then if you get. I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. You never know if you can get lucky in the Iron Bowl or pull off one against.
I would argue they got very unlucky in this last Iron Bowl.
Yes, they did get very unlucky in this last one. I'm trying to look at their schedule real quick. I'm expecting at least like 7 wins off the team because if you can win one between Kentucky, Missouri, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, you've got 1 more win out of there, and that's puts you at 7 wins. And then if you happen to get 2 out of that, great. You're not going to beat Georgia or Bama, in my opinion, but you got Vanderbilt, you got UL Monroe, and you got Arkansas, New Mexico, California, Alabama, A&M. There's your 6 wins. So, why are you guys giggling over there for?
We're laughing because I'm trying to give Mark a heads up as he's trying to scramble for a final pick. I'm like, these are the teams I'm thinking of because he's the only person who picks after me.
Yeah.
Real quick on Auburn. In my top 40, kind of at this stage of the draft, I think good pick. I'm a big Hugh Freeze believer. I think that this isn't the year yet for them. I think that's yet to come, but that doesn't mean they can't get 8 or 9 in a crazy fluke of events, especially for 9. 8 is really reasonable. So
what I'm hoping is that they don't. I'm looking for teams that don't bottom out that can give me a little bit of upside. That's what I'm trying to find there. So
yeah. So Mark and I are chuckling because the two teams that I'm looking at that I want to take potentially is I'm looking at Nebraska. Being a little ahead of schedule and taking care of business more often than they have, maybe not losing as many close games, maybe winning some of them. And Arizona, who Steve was talking me into pretty well, like T-Mac is no joke at wide receiver. Fafita is a very good quarterback. You do have a new head coach and lost some of your talent, but that was a very good team at the end of last season. We're laughing because Mark went ahead and highlighted the team that he wanted to take so that I wouldn't take it.
Just letting him know, like, hey, that team.
He took them off the board.
Take it, Brian. Do it.
I almost want you just to spite him, but
yes, you should. You provided him with your board the entire time. You should spite him 100%.
I think I'm going to beat him handily anyway. I'm going to go ahead and...
Whoa.
I'm going to take Nebraska. I'll let him have, Brent Brennan's first year there. Let him have Noah Fafita. Hopefully they don't have an injury to one of those main guys. No, I think Nebraska, you should see improved quarterback play. And if you see, a 15% decrease in turnovers from that improved quarterback play and, less stupidity.
You get 3 wins.
Yeah, you get quite a bit. So you do have Ohio State. That's going to be a loss. You do have USC, who I anticipate as a loss, but it's not a sure thing. I think they can get Colorado this year. Iowa, we'll see what that game turns out to be. I'm buying in for the year 2 Matt Rule. We've seen it before. I'm hoping to see it again.
I'm also buying in. Good pick. Good pick. So, Brian previewed. I'll take Arizona. As you
Wildcats, get your head in the game.
That's right. With the last pick in the draft, you're like, what do I do? Do I trust programs that have historically recruited well and coaches that I generally trust? So I thought a little bit about Oklahoma. I thought a little bit about TCU. But I think at that point, at number 40, give me the most dynamic player at the most important position, and that's Fafita. So Arizona, let's hope he takes me to 9 or 10 wins. And Brian, that was classy of you to lay off and take Nebraska. I appreciate it.
I think Mark touched on Oklahoma. I think that is like the big omission of this draft is their preseason top 25. Are they not? I could be mistaken on that. But just have a brutal schedule. They, you lose Dylan Gabriel, but probably you're okay with that. You're anticipating Jackson Arnold taking that job anyway. You bring back Danny Stutzman and a lot of that defense.
Do you want to flip your Nebraska pick? You sound pretty.
I do not.
Okay.
I do think their strength of schedule is just too much. Like I think Texas doesn't lose to them again. I think they have a tough go around in the first year in the SEC. I don't know if they're going to have like a tough forever future in the SEC, but this first year is going to look ugly.
Yeah, I think you're favored to lose. You're expected to lose against Ole Miss. You're expected to lose against Missouri. You're expected to lose against LSU and expected to lose against Bama.
What's the Tennessee line?
You're favored by 3.5 against Tennessee, according to whatever I'm looking at.
Wrong team's favored. I know it's a road game. Don't care.
Yeah. Then like you should beat Maine. They should beat Tulane. They should beat Houston. They should beat Temple. But then you have Auburn, South Carolina. We'll see what happens there. There's just too much. It's. I think that range is too much of an issue.
Too much can go wrong. Yeah.
I think the other part of this is that we picked enough teams that play them, right? Like you're starting to worry about just guaranteeing yourself a bunch of losses, or at least I was.
Well, see, I picked I think it's like when I picked App State. Their losses, their guaranteed losses we were talking about were like Liberty and Clemson. Also, my other 2 teams. So it's like, I'm going to get a win no matter what and a loss no matter what. So.
Right. Well, I'm saying, it limits your upside when you have a bunch of teams that play each other. It's like I get 1 win, but I get a guaranteed win, but I also get a guaranteed loss. Yep. Instead of like 2 games where it's like, hey, there's some element of of chance that I could win both.
What were we last year? Like, Brian, were you like 94 and 40 something? So you averaged like 94? And I think I averaged the year before like almost a 10 and 2.
Yeah.
Like, so you've got to get up there, and if you're in a win. Now, if you don't want to lose, you just got to be like, what, 7? Average 7 and something?
Which is where I'm going to be. All right. Any other notable omissions that you guys want to talk about? I have several still. Some of them got picked up at the end there.
Oklahoma State's an interesting one. I mean, if you look at across the board, their expected over/under is 8 games.
Well, Mark picked them.
Oh, Mark picked Oklahoma State? Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. I'll tell you, the only thing it pained me not to do this year, though it kind of burned me last year, was pick a military school. So I was like, do I go with the Air Force just to round out the top 40 here? And I couldn't pull the trigger on it.
Who's your omission, Steve?
Okay. Tulane, I was a little surprised that they didn't get picked up by someone. I know that they're going through transition. Fritz is gone, but John Sumrall, has been a killer at Troy, so he's a good coach. I am not really aware of what the roster turnover looks like year to year for them. Pratt is gone, if memory serves. And so it's like, okay, who do you have playing QB? But they also had a backup QB that played in the AAC championship game, if I remember right.
That's
so,
right. I'm pulling up their depth chart right now.
And they, again, they played SMU and played well, but didn't win. So like I'm sure there are some pieces there. That one was surprising. UNLV is, I think, also one that I looked at. They do lose their starting quarterback. He decided being a backup at Southern Cal was better than starting at UNLV. Okay, so we'll see what that looks like. Here's the one that I think that it's kind of torn on this one. Rutgers, I think, is a really good team, and they have a pretty easy schedule relative to what they've had in the last little bit. I mean, they return a fair amount, and what they don't return, it may in some cases be addition by subtraction. They have Kyle Monangai, just an awesome running back. They run the football. They're a physical team. So Rutgers is one. The other one that I really considered was Oregon State. And the reason being it's a step down in competition. I know lots of elements of that team are gone, either through to the draft via the transfer portal. Silas Bolden's now on Texas. David Martinez now at Miami. Taliesin Fuanga, their first round offensive tackle, is gone. A couple of other starters from the offensive line are in the league now. But they do have Gulbranson still at quarterback, who's been there forever. And they did keep, enough of theirs that I think for the large part on their schedule where it's like, all right, when they're playing a lot of Mountain West teams, they probably have a talent advantage. Continuity on the staff is with regard to, they elevated from within when Jonathan Smith left. That one's one where it's like, all right, if you're looking for 7, maybe 8 wins, you might get it with them. So, and I'm sure that a couple of my picks will probably not net me that. So those are the few that I would highlight. I mean, I also considered Jacksonville State just because they've been,
they played well last year.
Yeah, their game. They were ready for this level, and it's been kind of fun to see them adapt really quickly. And I think that they'll continue to be a power for kind of relative to who they're playing. So,
all right, I've got a question for everybody. Oh, do you guys anybody else want to add to Steve's teams that should have been picked? Sorry.
Yeah, I had 2 additional ones on my board. Tulane was on my board. Miami of Ohio. I think this might be the best MAC team, but it's basically a similar schedule to Toledo, except you add Notre Dame. So you add on one certified loss, and that's what makes me pick Toledo over them. But again, I think they may be the best MAC team in the country. UNC is on my list, strictly for schedule. It was I did a lot of schedule hunting in this draft. We'll see whether that pays off or not. It's hard to bet on him when you go, you went from Sam Howell to Drake May to Max Johnson. who it appears is going to be the starter, I think.
But I like some of the talent on that team. I'm right there with you. They didn't make my board, but I did like look at them, right? Like I looked at them, and it's like, man, like Kyman Rucker is a really good pass rusher, and Omarion Hampton's a really good football player, and they have 2 or 3 tight ends that are all pretty good. I think Max Johnson's younger brother,
Yeah.
Jake,
I,
like he's only a sophomore, again, also transferred from A&M. There's pieces. I just don't know if I trust a Mac Brown team to do anything. Like,
yeah, well, and I'm looking at, I don't wide receiver wise, like we've had Josh Downs, we've had Tez Walker, and I don't know that they have that level of star on their roster.
No.
And then there's this question of how much they can improve the defense year over year without Gene Chiswick. Whether it's a quick evolution or a little bit slower, I think it'll be improved, but it was too big of a question mark for me to take them, but they were on my board.
Who do you guys think has the what if you were to pick the worst pick out of here? Who do you guys pick has the worst pick, or made the worst pick?
Me for sure. It's got to be.
I think my Auburn pick might be the worst one. I should have gone Miami, Ohio on that one. What do you say, Mark?
So I think 5 through 10 for me.
Arizona.
I never leave these drafts feeling like, that was the
Fresno
one.
State. I like your Oklahoma State pick. I like Arizona. Fresno, I've got questions. SMU, I've got questions.
Yeah,
Iowa, I think is fine. I think that's a fine pick. I think you might get 10 wins out of Iowa.
Iowa's always fine. Your floor is 7. They're just not going to do worse than that. And generally it's 8 or 9. It's just they're just very consistently average.
Yeah, and 5-year schools are not going to score 7 points on them anyway.
I've got like 3 other picks that are maybe like we're gonna look back and be like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
My South Florida pick was maybe early. Probably could have got someone else, but again, I think that one will make me look smart. I hope now I'm like, just okay, I'm clearly the anomaly here. The other App State, I'm a little surprised you picked them, Corey. Like I looked at them and just was like, no, I can't do it. And then Brian with Louisville, like it's a lot of turnover. They do have a couple of pieces back. Tyler Shuck's never been healthy ever in his career.
And that matters.
I am very nervous for the Louisville Cardinals. And the other part that's concerning to me is like the number of guys that transferred in and then immediately transferred out. What happened?
That's a great question.
Those were all the things that I was like, I'm not touching Louisville. I know that they might end up being like a 9-10 win team, but I can't risk it with them.
All right, now the question is who loses? Because last year we predicted that Brian would win.
Oh, I'm losing. I know I'm losing.
Can we
just
sort
history.
this by drafter and see what the teams are?
Yeah.
Yes. Let's do it.
Steve, I'm still just blown away going with Miami as the top pick. Like I just don't have any faith in Cristobal.
The schedule's just so easy.
Yeah, that's this. You want to know what it reminds me of? I looked at Miami and I thought, oh, this is when he was coach at Oregon. This is that schedule. Like you can't blow this except for you have one game against Utah, and okay, who cares if you win that game? That's what it is. Like you can't blow this to some degree.
Yeah, that's my thought. Is like even if he loses to let's say Florida State's their hardest game, right?
Yeah.
And then they're at Louisville the week before Florida State.
And at Cal.
UNC.
Oh, I guess they've got a bye week in between that. Yeah.
So I just like, at some point, like I said, it's kind of idiot proofed. Like where it's like they as a team got a lot better. Their schedule got a whole lot easier year over year. They don't have to face Drake May, right? They don't have to face Jordan Travis. They don't have to face.
Is you have to avoid the blow-up game because what we've had with Miami the last 2 years is a blow-up game, like the loss to GT, and then it ended up trickling over.
It spirals. And I do think they'll probably have. Oh, sorry, I cut you off. Go.
Oh no, I'm saying to me, it's like as long as you win against Florida, you're going to be 6-0, kind of to start the season.
Well, like that's the thing is like I can talk myself into like Miami being 12-0, and that's what I wanted for my first pick. Is like I want a chance to go undefeated, right? Like
Yeah.
And it's a little unfortunate that I happened to be the fourth pick, right? Because like Georgia agreed could go undefeated, Oregon yes, and Ohio State, like those three, like all right, between Oregon and Ohio State, the winner of that game is likely expected to win the rest of their games, right? Like, and it's like okay, if I need to put a 12 spot on, where is there like a giant talent difference because they're really talented, and I think they can just again they can play their way out of Cristobal's game management mistakes. So we'll see if they do. I'd be thrilled if they don't, but I just like man, I look at that and I'm just like, there's no way they're not winning 10, and I think 10 is the floor. If it's beneath that, then you got real questions. If they go 9-3, like there's not three excusable losses on there. But at the same time, I can squint my eyes and look and be like, okay, opening in the swamp, that's tough. You ask Utah, like it's tough to do. So I could see them losing that game. I could see them losing at USF. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but same reasons, right? Like I like the coaching staff at USF. I could see them putting all their chips on that one or on the Alabama game to try and get like a real nice like head on the wall. Like, so I could see that at Cal with Cal on, like you're traveling all the way across the country. Cal has a bye week the week in front of you. Like that's a very Miami thing to lose that game. Like. And then like that at Louisville or hosting Florida State back to back is not great. There are some things around it that Miami has to prove that they're different this year than they've been in I guess the last 20 years. And so it's a big bet, but I didn't think I would get another shot at a 12-0 if I waited between those picks, right? So like that's why I scooped up Utah, who I think can go 12-0 as well. They have that chance. So yeah. But I mean, sorry, if we go back and sort this by pick real quick, I just knew by the time it came back to me here, number one was stunned that both Alabama and Tennessee were still there. I'm maybe higher on the Vols, but Bama I thought would be gone for sure. I think Florida State got picked a little high. That was my thought. I was like, who can give me the upper echelon, and I need to grab them now, right?
And for me, my draft strategy was like, who can I guarantee is going to give me 8 or 9 wins at the beginning? Like, I want to have 8 or 9 wins for the first four or 5 rounds, and then after that, I'm like, okay, now who can guarantee me 7?
Don't let the bottom fall out, and then a couple of these people hit.
Playing not
I
to
don't want to be the loser, because if you're the loser,
you get punished.
Forever.
Some of us are just calloused from it at this point. We know what it's like. We're used to it. Got that loser mentality like Miami.
At some point in time, your talent's going to rise, and you're just not going to be able to. It's going to be undeniable. Is what it is.
We'll see. Bri, let's recap your team real quick. Oregon, Penn State, Ole Miss, Mizzou, Virginia Tech, or Memphis, Toledo, Virginia Tech. I think you've got the favorite in the American, the co-favorite in the Big Ten. Is that right?
Yeah.
A couple of dark horses from the SEC. I think the favorite in the MAC. A couple of dark horses in the ACC. I was hoping, whenever Virginia Tech was picked, that was my next team that I was going to go for. I like that pick a lot. I think Brent Pry is a good coach. I think they've done a good job keeping talent, and now he's got good enough where it's again, it's the same thing. Like I could see Miami losing that game, even though it's in Coral Gables.
See, I feel like that team has the talent, but we haven't they won 7 games last year.
I think so.
It's just.
I think they won 5 of their last 6.
Yeah,
something
and
like that.
what I'm worried about is I'm worried that this is projections ahead of where they might be, and they haven't quite turned the corner, and so I was afraid to pick them because I'm like, I agree this is a talented team, but we haven't seen them do it yet, and for that reason I was a little nervous to pick them.
Yeah, it's another situation of betting on the quarterback. So I did that with them and with Louisville. Kyron Drones, I was listening to Alex Donna, who does Locked On ACC, and he talks about, he's like, if you look at the stats for Kyron Drones, you go, okay, average quarterback who can run a little. You look at the eye test, you go, he might have something special. And I just think he won me over in the back half of that season, where I think if he can tap into that, if he can take that half step next, the schedule's decently favorable for him as well. And so I'm hoping that comes together. When I look at my team as a whole, like, I really only have Oregon that I feel great about now that I'm re-looking over it, because I felt awesome as I was drafting. Like, every pick was coming around, and I'm like, yes, I got the team I wanted. And now I'm reading back over it, I'm like, I don't know, like, I got a really high ceiling here. Like, I feel like my floor is not super low, but like Missouri, I don't see an actual future where they win the SEC. You know, like that's not something that I can foresee. It's just kind of, I don't know. We'll see. I felt amazing as I was drafting through, and now I'm looking back at it, and it's like, I don't think I'm going to lose, but winning wise, maybe I should have taken Arizona instead of Nebraska. Who knows?
That's kind of like, I think I definitely drafted with mentality of don't lose, not to win.
Oh, I went like all in on the man. If these all hit, I'm gonna look like a genius.
Yeah,
Like,
that's because Steve has nothing to lose.
that's right. That's some of these, like Alabama, I just think was a value pick at the time, where it's like, okay, the talent plus the coach, like it. Tennessee, again, I think feel pretty good about that one. A&M, I maybe jumped a little bit. I was afraid they were gonna go, was my problem. And I'm big on like where a coach can elevate a team. You'll see that. Look at, I mean, outside of Miami, which is my first pick, like Whittingham, they always play above their talent level. DeBoer's always got that. Josh Heupel has done that at Tennessee and did it at UCF. Mike Elko's done it both at A&M as a coordinator and then at Duke as a head coach. G.J. Kinney. I mean, even, gosh, I'm blanking on his name. Sharon Moore, thank you. I mean, he coached against Ohio State. He beat them. He coached against Penn State. He beat them. USF, Alex Golish. Lincoln Riley that's a boomer bust pick. Gus Malzahn can, again, coach him up. So, like, I'm heavy on coaches and ones that I think can show up. Again, there's a few risky ones in there. Cristobal, Malzahn, Lincoln Riley. But the rest of them, I feel like they maximize what they have, right? They get the most out of their players. And in some cases, it's a nice little marriage where it's like, hey, it's a really talented team plus a pretty darn buttoned up coach. So that was my thought process.
I like it. Mark, what about your team?
Like I said, I don't know. Like, there's a lot I don't feel awesome about. Florida State, probably a reach. Like I said, really trust Noah Ravel. Really do not trust our
DJU.
Yeah. Well, and that's even if he stays healthy for the full year. He's had some injury history. And so, I don't know.
I think you like the depth in that room, though. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world if you
go to Brock Glenn.
You go down a few games in, you're with Brock Glenn.
You're talking about an ACC champion, Brock Glenn.
I'll tell you, I don't love the depth in that room.
Okay.
I've seen Brock Glenn, and put some film on, and I don't.
The word in the street though is like he was injured all last year, right? And he got injured in the Southern Miss game, so he wasn't practicing hardly at all. Then he gets in and plays a little bit, and then he gets injured in the Florida game, and so he has to, in the ACC. So he's playing the Georgia game a little bit injured. The word from practice is that he's taking the next steps.
And honestly, like, I didn't know that he was injured heading into the Georgia game. I think this is going to sound insane knowing just straight up the scores of that game versus the Louisville game. But watch him play.
He looks
better.
Yeah.
He is so much better against Georgia than he is against Louisville. Problem is he's missing 10 NFL draft picks.
Yeah.
And a couple of undrafted free agents that appear like they're going to make the rosters.
Yeah.
So I don't love FSU. I feel pretty good about Texas, Boise State. LSU is another one where I was like, I could see them only walking out with 8 or 9 wins.
They have a hard schedule, LSU does.
That's what I couldn't get around.
Yeah.
It's like,
I know, like, they've got the best offensive line in the nation, essentially. And then I know Bud Elliott's very big on Nussmeier, but they're gonna give up points still.
who's he throwing to? That's my
what
thing.
my thing is. It's like,
Everyone is talking about Kyron Lacey, and it's like, man, that guy drops the football so much, and it's been a problem for 3 years. Go back and listen to our podcast. I called it out in both the last 2 years, where it's like, hey, the guy can run routes, the guy can get open, he cannot catch, and that's a problem when your job is to catch the football. Like, he probably would be an awesome defensive back. He should probably consider moving to the other side of the ball, and they could use help with that. I just don't know who he's throwing to. I don't know who's running the football. Yeah, they have two great tackles. To me, two great tackles with questionable reliability from your receivers. I like the tight end. I like Taylor. I can see that. Yeah, it's one that I had him on the board, but it was like it's a late round flyer for me because I don't love the defense and I don't love elements of the offense that I think people are just saying, oh, it's a given because it's LSU.
Nussmeier is one who I'm really curious just to see how it goes this year because by all means, like everything we've heard and seen, like he has the arm talent to do stuff, but I also think he's a little bit more of a risk taker than Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels did not give up the ball. Like if it was a too tight of a throw, he's taken a sack or he's taken off. He was really, really safe with the ball, along with being, really prolific in the passing game and run game. And Nussmeier, I think I think he'll be better than this, but I think there's a little bit of Haynes King in him where he will want to make
gunslinger.
He's a lot more of a gunslinger. So I'm curious if my assessment on that is accurate or not, because I think that's, one thing that will make a big difference is last year they didn't give up the ball hardly at all. And if you add in a little bit of that, it could, warrant you an extra loss.
Yeah. Georgia Tech, just by the way, as you said that, like I considered them too. Their schedule's so brutal. I love their head coach, Brent Key's a really good coach. He's a good motivator. They have some good pieces on that team. I think that they're like the stock arrow on that program is pointing up. It's just a really tough schedule for this year. I mean, anytime you have to play, like, oh, we start with Florida State, we end with Georgia. I'm like, woof.
I just hope they don't like surprises in Ireland. Good heavens! I mean,
yeah, and I don't mean to as a slight to Haynes King to say that he's a gunslinger. I like Haynes King.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
You kind of know what he is he's gonna make some plays. He's gonna be a little bit riskier, and you might lose a couple, but he's gonna win more than he loses.
Or you might hit a deep shot to beat a team that forgot to kneel a ball.
Yeah, and there's not. I don't think there's too many other quarterbacks who are making both those throws.
Yeah.
Particularly the first one, to march the ball down the field. So, yeah.
Well,
anything else before we wrap? All right. Well, thanks for joining. Look forward to tracking this throughout the year. And yeah, I guess we'll close with this. Go Canes, go Utes, go Roll Tide. Rocky Top, Gig 'em, Take Back Texas, go Big Blue, I guess, go Bulls, fight on, and charge on. Thanks, guys. We'll see you around. Corey and I will probably again have more for those that listen and tune in. So appreciate it.